mentioned earlier that you've traveled around the world with the spoken word show, Russia, New Zealand. How much tougher is that for those foreign audiences to absorb your view of the Americana?
Well, you don't necessarily dumb it down, but you must speak in a more broad sense. In that, if I tee off on like Bill O'Reilly on the Fox network, most of the audience is going to know who that is and why I'm having fun with him, because he is a bit of a blowhard. Or if I talk about, Rush Limbaugh being a drug addict, everyone in the room is like, oh yeah, that guy. Try it in Holland, and watch the audience just kind of go like, we want to be with you, but we don't know what the hell you're talking about. So either you explain Rush Limbaugh to them, or you ignore it and just find a broader topic to where they can be aware of. And so that takes about, on the plane ride over to Europe, I will kind of reconfigure my working material to where someone who lives in Belgium or France can be on the same page with it. And it's not all, I've never had much difficulty with that, and sometimes almost half my tour goes outside of America. Like last year, I did about 138 shows last year, some 140, somewhere like that, and a good 50 or 60 of them were outside of America. So you just have to kind of move it around a little, but never dumbing it down. These people aren't stupid. They're nowhere near stupid. But you can't be inside with it. You can't talk about, you might be able to talk about O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson. That's just kind of a worldwide trademark. But you can't be too inside, lest you lose them. And that's so not the gig, is to lose anyone. You want, no audience member left behind.
Let's talk about your upcoming release on February 10th, San Antonio. The man here will release live at Luna Park, the DVD. Talk a little bit about what fans can expect from this DVD. I know that it showcases some performances that you did on the East Coast.
West
Coast, sorry.
What happened was a few years ago, I was off the road. My manager said, "What about doing like a residency, like one night a week for several weeks at a place?" I was like, "Book it." Yeah, why not? Be a great night off from the drudgery of being home. And so a place called Luna Park was owned by a friend of mine who I've been doing shows with. In fact, my first ever talking show was done at this guy's club, Jean-Pierre, good friend of mine. And we called Jean-Pierre and said, "Hey, we want to do this thing." And he went, "That's perfect. We'll give you every Tuesday in March." So every Tuesday in March, I did these shows. The money I made off the shows, I just filmed and did audio of every gig. Two lock-off cams and one guy running around just grabbing wild footage. So it did so well, he called and said, "Well, what about every Wednesday in April?" I'm like, "Book it." So I did basically 9 shows in 9 weeks over like this 2-month period. And then I went on tour, and then to another tour. There's no time to look at the footage. And I asked my friend Modi, who shot it, I go, "Modi, you want a job?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Break out that footage, look at it, log it." It's like, I don't know, 20 hours. Poor girl. And I said, see if there's a DVD. It might all suck. I might have been lame, or it might not look good, but see if there's a DVD or some kind of release to come out of it. And she got back to me about 2 weeks later and said, yeah, there's a good 2 hours, that doesn't suck. I go, "Okay, make a rough and send it to me." She made the rough. My manager looked at it, carved it down to like 90 minutes or so. And we looked at it and went, "That's a DVD." And since I own all the footage and all of that, and we have a deal where we have one company doing it for retail, and then we press our own copies for our internet and live at the show sales. Now that I know how much DVDs cost to make, you will see from my company and at the shows that the price will be reflective of the fact that they only cost a few bucks. And we do that with I have a couple of record companies, and we do that with all the CDs too. We put out like these double CDs for $10 with $1 going to charity, because they cost like $2 to make. So we can make our little profit, get the money to charity, pay the royalty, save the day, do the thing, rock the customers, the fans. And now we're moving into DVDs with that, and hopefully, piss off all the Sonys of the world with their brutally overpriced goods, like criminal, because I know how much they're paying, right. Like, pennies on the dollar for a Jennifer Lopez CD, and charging you $20, and they wonder why people download. I don't, but they do.
And one of those labels is 21361.
Yeah, which is my birthday. And all my stuff comes out via 21361. I've got a couple of little tiny labels underneath my tiny label. Like a new record label I have called District Line. And that's music that is exclusive to the Washington, D.C. area, which is where I come from. And $1 from each release will be going to a different D.C.-based charity. And so that's my way of, like, I miss my hometown, so it's a way of battling homesickness and giving back to where I grew up and putting out some really cool, rare, or unreleased stuff for people at a really good price.
Do you think that you'll ever cultivate other artists through 21361, or is that just for Henry Rollins works?
I've put out a lot of other people's books and CDs, a lot. And most of them have been, while the records and the books were great, they didn't sell. And I lost so much money to where the girls who run my company said, you can afford to keep losing money, and it's for the arts and, good for you. But it's bad business. You just can't be throwing away $5 to $10 grand every time you do a book for someone. And even though the books are great, but we have kind of been punished every time we did it. And Carol, who runs my company, she begged me. She goes, let off for a few years and let me rebuild this company until we have a surplus, and then you can go put out this stuff that you love so much. Apparently, my taste in books and records don't really rate with even the most esoteric or eclectic of tastes. So we sell 8 to 80 to 800 of these other people who I think are amazing. Better than anything I'll ever do. I only wish more people agreed with me. So we're crawling, with this DC label. We're going right back into that potential, cash vacuum, and at the company they're going, oh no, here he goes again. But I'm really excited about it. So.
And as we get near the end of this interview, Henry, let me ask you, of course, because all the people out there want to know, talk a little bit about what the plans are for Rollins Band upcoming. What's coming up next for the band?
Well, the guys I've been playing with for the last few years kind of had a personnel change. They lost their drummer. And
is that the guy from the one video?
Yeah.
The guy's outstanding.
He's really amazing. The whole band is. And as a unit, they're amazing. They have a new drummer, Jason, and the drummer, and the rest of the band kind of parted ways. Not too clear. They're not enemies. It's just one guy wanted to do stuff, and the other guys wanted to kind of rock out and
Right.
And I don't know anything about this new drummer, and I kind of want to try some different stuff. So I think I've probably realized my potential with those guys, and I definitely have interest in music, but I don't think it'll be called Rollins Band. It'll be either a different band name per project or just Henry Rollins. I'm interested in just assembling a unit, doing a thing, playing a couple of shows, dissolving it, grabbing some other people, doing a different thing, like Mike Patton does. He's got a lot of different projects going. And I talked to Mike about that a while ago. He goes what are you doing with this one group? You should be doing a lot of stuff. And that really, I like the idea of that, because it would keep me off balance and maybe get some interesting stuff out of me. And so I'm going to pursue that late summer. I'm kind of booked till mid-May. So I have some people in mind for this next project. Actually, 2 of the 3 I need, I've asked, and they're with it. I just have to put the call into the 3rd one, who I'm sure will come aboard. But then all of a sudden, I've got to be like schedule master, and we got to really do this. So I got to see if I really feel like committing a fiscal quarter, 3 months or something, to a record. Because we're going to build it from, it's going to be people who've never played together before. And, it might suck. And so 48 hours later, you'll know, and we all go home kind of like, ugh.
Henry, I want to thank you for your time this evening. Any last words for the people out there in San Antonio that you want to share?
Well, hopefully you take good care of yourselves. I know some of you like to party, and party extremely hard. And I think that you should, but also know that tobacco and alcohol and all those other shitty drugs you put in your system really fuck your body up. And your body's cooler than the drugs are, and you have a long life ahead of you. So don't drink and drive. In fact, hell, don't drink at all. Get laid more, stay out of jail, and have lots of fun.
You heard it from the man. Remember, San Antonio, the DVD out live at Luna Park should be out by the time you see this. Go out there and support Henry Rollins, because he rocks right here on Rob's MetalWorks.